Good morning, Don Pelayo here, sitting here at my kitchen table this morning. I'm working on studying a little bit for the CFP exam. I'm working on getting back into the swing of things where that's concerned. I took that exam last July and I didn't do so well, and it's funny because I took all the courses. You have to do about a year and a half. No, it wasn't a year and a half. It was a good bit. It was about a year's worth of coursework, though. I had to go through like 7 different classes, and I made A's and B's all the way through it. And then I went and took the cumulative exam and got my butt kicked. But so I'm getting kind of jumping back on the horse, trying to get through that. But one thing I wanted to talk about this morning, and this has actually even kind of surprised me a little bit. Been talking to some friends a lot here lately, and I've been thinking a lot about it. And I've always been pretty traditionally conservative, and I am still conservative. Especially on the social issues. I think the Democrats are kind of nuts when it comes to social issues. I'm not. I'm very firmly a believer in capitalism. I believe in the capitalist system. I think that people who go out and work hard and really push themselves should earn more than people that just kind of float by, right? However, I think we're reaching a point where it's just gotten to be too much. It's gotten to be too much. We're living in a society right now where about 10% of our population is doing fabulously well, have more money than they'll ever use in 2 or 3 lifetimes. And then the other 90% of our population feels like they'll never own a home. Or their kids will never own a home. These young people, they're looking at it and they're never going to be able, they feel like they're never going to be able to have a family. That's a problem. That's a structural problem with our society right now. When young people are feeling like they can't have families, that's not a good situation, and I think our politicians are going to have to wake the hell up. There's a few things that I think need to happen in terms of helping the lower to middle class. The wealthy are doing fabulously well. They don't need help. Lower and middle class people need help. The middle class is being decimated right now. The first thing that I would recommend, and I think that this would be a fairly easy first step, although a lot of Republicans are going to be opposed to it. I think this is one of the issues. I'm actually finding myself siding with the Democrats a little bit more on economic issues. I don't believe in socialism and all the free stuff that they want to try to do, but I do think that something needs to happen so that we have a more equitable distribution of what you can't have a society where 10% of the people are completely loaded and then the other 90% feels like they can't even have a family because they're struggling so hard to try to get by. That's just not going to work. What I'm saying for the Republicans is that more people need to feel the benefits of capitalism. Right now, it's just not getting into enough people's hands. It's not. I'm sitting here. I've got 2 college degrees. I'm bilingual. I have worked hard for 20 years plus in finance. I've never broken $100,000 in a year, ever, not once. And I'm feeling like I have enough knowledge and to get to where I should be able to earn $100 to $150,000 a year, especially when I look at how much some of these other people out here are making. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Well, if you can, go out and get it, and you have a point. But the way they've got our system set up right now, employers are just paying just as little as they can. They're trying just enough to try to keep you, but not enough to where you can get ahead. And that's really the way it is right now. I don't remember the last time. Maybe it was during the 1%, the 99% rallies on Wall Street. They had some rallies back in the day when they had all the bank bailouts. People were opposed to that. That was probably the last time I saw a pushback, a protest against all of this. I think workers need to start pushing back a little bit. I think they're going to have to. I think workers are going to have to say, look, we deserve a bigger portion of the benefits of capitalism. It's like workers are doing everything they can to try to survive. Last night I went and picked up something for dinner, and I was doing a little door dashing last night. I door dash part-time just to help further my economic goals, my own financial goals. It's ridiculous that I'm sitting here with 2 college degrees and I feel like I have to door dash in order to help get me by and put a little money in savings and things. It's just ridiculous. But I really feel like I was thinking about these people working in the restaurant, and I'm like, these people are just working and working and working, and their paychecks are nothing. I mean, I don't know how they even survive on it. It's like, and I get it, these people don't have much education, a lot of times they're young people, and that's really what those jobs were kind of intended for, was for young people for their first job or whatever, But there are a lot of people out here that are either it's a second job for them, or they're, maybe they, have other priorities earlier in the day and they just want to earn some extra income for the household, whatever it is. But I'm just thinking that, that paycheck that they earn working at the little fast food places or whatever, I mean, it's going to be eaten up. I mean, it's not going to cover rent, these days. I mean, just one bill. Forget about utilities, forget about food, forget about gas for the car. I mean, like, for real. I mean, that's really the way it is. It's like these people are going to have 3 or 4 incomes in the household in order to make it at that wage level, that's just a tough situation, and I don't really know what the answer is. Of course, the government is still shut down right now. The Democrats are trying to get these subsidies for health care passed. Something probably does need to change with our health care setup. We have some problems there structurally. I don't know if universal health care is the answer. Every time I think about universal health care, I just know how that would go here in the United States. And it's unfortunate. But can you imagine? I mean, our emergency rooms and hospitals are already a little bit burdened by we have a bit of a shortage in some healthcare positions. If you went to a universal healthcare system, there's going to be people sitting up there in the hospital for every little sniffle that they get, every little minor little thing that they have. I just know how that's going to go here in the United States. In Europe, it works because people don't go to the hospital unless it's like an absolute emergency, and that if it's not an emergency, they'll just pop into their local pharmacy and get a little medication there at the pharmacy, and they're done. Um, I just know how it would go here in the United States. I know exactly what would happen if we had a universal healthcare system. Everybody's going to be showing up at the emergency room wanting to be seen and treated for every little thing that pops up, and it's just, I don't know. I think if we did have a universal healthcare system, there would need to be an upfront charge for using like the emergency room. There would need to be, and maybe a limitation on how many visits they're going to the doctor each year. I don't know. Unless it's a significant problem. I don't know. I think we're probably going in that direction eventually. People are sick of the U.S. healthcare system. The lower classes need a win. The lower classes need some things to go their way for once. The wealthy already have plenty. The lower classes need some help, and our politicians need to start looking at the lower classes and finding ways of making their lives a little bit easier, a little bit better. Probably need to look at the cost of college education. The cost of education in the country. I'm not suggesting free stuff. I think maybe they look at the interest rates that are being charged on these student loans. I think that's a big part of the problem. If they had a more reasonable rate of interest on those student loans, when I say reasonable, I'm thinking maybe like the inflation rate, or maybe like half a point over inflation. Right now it's like 7%. To me, that's just for a student loan. That's just too high. I think that needs to come down. What I'm really saying is our politicians need to look for some ways to help the average American person, not the multimillionaires, not the billionaires, not the business class. And it seems like that's all they ever want to help are the business owners. And it's like the workers need some help. They really do. The workers themselves need help. Forget about the business class for once. Start looking at some ways that you can help, that more of the benefits of capitalism are finding their way into the hands of average Americans. I'm not even saying this for myself, honestly. I'm not. I am thinking a little bit about my daughters, as they're coming along. I just don't want them to grow up in a country where it's just such a struggle just to live, where they may not even feel like they can even have a family because they can't afford kids. That's not a good situation for anybody. So what I really would like to see is a distribution closer to what we had in the middle of the last century, 50s and 60s, 70s. I think we had a more solid middle class here in the country. And I think that needs to happen. So if any politicians hear my message, that's what I would suggest. You guys need to look out for the regular American workers and stop thinking so much about the business class. I do understand that we don't want to chase business away, but at the same time, we need to have a decent standard of living for all Americans, and where they feel like they have a shot at having a home, having a family, and living a fairly modest, albeit modest, but a comfortable life. We're not looking for riches here. We're just wanting to have a modest, comfortable life, the average American worker. And right now they don't feel like they can do that without working like 3 jobs until they're 70. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. So anyway, that's my thoughts for this morning. You guys let me know what you think. This is Don Pelayo checking out.